It only took 13 years for this James Cameron sequel to be released, giving me some serious Last Guardian vibes along the way. Thus bringing us to this moment, a potential pivotal shift in the cinema landscape and a long-awaited return to Pandora. You know, the fifth moon of the gaseous planet Polyphemus in the distant but astronomically speaking not too distant star system of Alpha Centauri A. And if you were to ask me what my thoughts are regarding the Navi's latest adventure, I would describe it as, well, it's a movie. That is to say, it functions as one with a rather predictable plot, a flawed and confusingly uninspired conflict, and a set of characters I would describe as paper thin, all wrapped up in one beautiful package. Yes, Avatar 2 Waterworld is quite the showpiece for what digital visual effects can do with enough time, and the folks at Weta must be commended for all their work. But let's take a step back. I've made some initial statements regarding my thoughts on this movie, so it's time I elaborate.
Re-experience the mind unbounded.
Alpacas.
The thing is, a predictable plot isn't negative by definition. One only needs to look at a classic like Star Wars: A New Hope as an example. That movie follows a template referred to as the hero's journey. But it having a cookie-cutter plot progression does not detract from the film. A template becomes a template due to its effectiveness. It's therefore up to the filmmakers to build a healthy movie using their chosen foundation. In fact, the first Avatar film drew heavily from Dances with Wolves, itself a classic redemption story, thus providing James Cameron a good narrative structure to build his world from. However, if we now take a look at the sequel, the narrative plot appears to fall in importance, that is to say, less priority on the characters in order to further focus on the world itself. The story isn't really about Jake and his new family, but instead they are the ingredients required for the inciting incident that sends them towards their new expensive setting. This is further accentuated when we consider how the conflict is sparked using a familiar face, which unfortunately feels lazy. But leading characters are still needed to drive the plot forward, and so we are given a set of rather likable performances. The lead actors as a whole do a great job, and their expressions are captured beautifully and represented effectively via their CGI counterparts. It's just a shame that their complexity is mostly skin deep. I say mostly because there are a few that provide some semblance of multifacetedness, but in general they are limited to bullet point traits, personalities sketched up from notes on the page. Furthermore, side characters, particularly the humans, are single-minded and robotic, your basic NPCs, and they are given little to work with apart from either being good or bad. All these elements combined are the reason for the predictable narrative plots. There just isn't much there to begin with, so any surprises are limited to the spectacle of the events. And spectacle it sure was. As I've stated several times, the visuals did not disappoint. It's one of those films I would suggest watching in theaters, made for the big screen and not easily replicated at home. And for all my negativity regarding the plot, my favorite parts in the film were the moments that allowed us to just take in the sights. So where do I stand? Well, it's perhaps too flawed in my eyes to make it anything more than an okay film. The world may be what hooks you in, but it's the characters that ultimately make you fall in love, which is what this movie was lacking. But it has set up some interesting possibilities for the next installment, which is slated to release in December of 2024. Thank you for watching.